One voice shouts above the crowd, the message of political cow. Conspiracies abound inside their twisted sound. One voice shouts above the crowd, the message of political cow. Political cow, political. Their lies are on the ground. Fake news is breaking down at the sound of political cow.
Well, that was a little weird start to replay there, guys. Thanks for joining. We had some technical difficulties yesterday evening that I hope will not recur, but I want to get to the Ghislaine, hopefully I'm saying that right, Maxwell audio interview tapes. Happened on 2 separate days, a good amount of time in each one. And I think it's very revealing listening into it how the line of questioning that's asked, up front, you'll hear them tell her very specifically that she has immunity, that anything she says at that moment in time will not be held against her. So without further ado, let's get going and think through it as we go here. But if you guys could like and subscribe. I'm going to put a poll up here, so answer the poll in a second. But also, we have a live guest call-in line. That's what I'm interested in. If you have anything related to this that you want to comment on, go ahead and jump in there. And I'll add the link to all the different platforms that we're streaming on. It'll be a pinned chat message on the different platforms. But go ahead and take a look, guys. Let me know what you think. Let's go ahead and play the audio. And if you're wondering, Grok did help make the make the video that you're watching right now on the screen. But let's get to the audio.
Recordings and the written transcripts, and a warning that viewers may find some content objectionable.
Today's date is Thursday, July 24th. This will be the recording of a proffer agreement of Ghislaine Maxwell from the Deputy Attorney General, DOJ, and the time is currently 9:16. Maxwell and counsel are arriving to the U.S. Attorney's Office, and we will commence the proffer shortly.
I'm going to ask everybody to put the name on the record.
Good morning. My name is Assistant Special Agent in Charge Spencer Horn of FBI New York. Today we're doing a proffer of Ms. Maxwell. The date is July 24th, and the time is 10:12 a.m. This interview is being recorded.
And my name is Todd Blanche. I'm the Deputy Attorney General. And before we start formally asking questions of Ms. Maxwell, I'm going to put on the record everybody that's in this room in addition to me. Starting with you, Diego.
Diego Pastana, Associate Deputy Attorney General.
And then you heard from Special Agent in Charge Horn. Mark Beard from the United States Marshal Service is here as well. And then David.
Yes, this is David Oscar Marcus, and I'm counsel for Ghislaine Maxwell.
My name is Leah Sapian, and I'm counsel for Ghislaine Maxwell.
My name is Melissa Madrigal, and I'm counsel for Ghislaine Maxwell.
Go ahead.
And I'm Ghislaine Maxwell.
Good morning, Ms. Maxwell. How are you?
Good morning, Ms. Blanche.
Good. Okay, so before we started recording, we met for a few minutes. I introduced myself, and we chatted, and now I told you that we were going on the record. And before we start asking questions, I know that you've been given by your lawyer a copy of what's called a proffer agreement, and I just want to spend 2 minutes making sure that you understand what governs our conversation today. The most important part of this agreement is that this isn't a cooperation agreement, meaning that by you meeting with us today, we're really just meeting. I'm not promising to do anything. I'm not promising to ask Judge Nathan or any of the judges that's been assigned to your case to do anything. We're just talking, and so that's the most important part of this agreement. However, almost as important is the fact that what this agreement does for you is it gives you protection. So what it means is that the government cannot use what you say today against you.
There you go, right there. The government cannot use whatever you say today against you. It gives you protection. So there is some baseline. I don't know off the top of my head right now if it was established now for the purposes of this interview or something that was sustaining there.
With some exceptions, which we'll talk about in a minute. But whatever you talk about today, you have what's called immunity. So that means that the words that you say today, we cannot use against you in a case in chief if we were ever to bring one. Okay?
Thank you.
There's exceptions to that. The most meaningful one of which is that if you say something today that's not true, that's a lie, we can bring a prosecution against you for what's called false statements. So I'm a federal officer. I have several officers here. The FBI is here, and if you lie to someone that's like me or like Special Agent Horn, it's a crime. So you have to be truthful. The other exception to this that doesn't necessarily apply directly to you, but if there ever was a retrial in your case, or if there ever was a criminal case, a future criminal case against you, and your lawyer or you said something different or took a position that's different than what you say today, we can then cross-examine you or witness based upon what you say today. So it's a little bit nuanced, meaning I can't use what you say against you in our case in chief. However, if you were to testify, or if your lawyer called a witness to testify and they said something that is totally different than what you say today, we could then cross-examine you or the witness and say, hey, do you remember when we met with Ms. Maxwell back in July of 2025? She told us, and then say what she said. Okay?
I understand.
Okay. Other than that, I know you didn't have a lot of time this morning to meet with Mr. Marcus, but did you have a chance to go over this briefly with him?
I did.
Okay. All right. So I've already signed it, as has Special Agent Horn, and Mr. Marcus signed it as well. So you got a pen? Please sign it right where it says clients. Yep. And I will provide a copy of this to your lawyer so you guys have it. Okay. Thank you. So, Ms. Maxwell, about a week and a half ago or 2 weeks ago,
You see the right pointing on there? on the summit. Yeah, there it is.
Okay, we're just confirming that it works, and it does. Ms. Maxwell, I guess about a week and a half or 2 weeks ago, Mr. Marcus reached out to me and said that you wanted to speak with somebody from the government about not only your case, but about everything that's been in the media and that's been publicized about Mr. Epstein in your case.
That is true, and I did speak to him, and I did ask him did tell him that I was very keen to talk to anyone, because no one from the government at any time ever since the inception of the case, so dating back to the early 2000s, has ever spoken to me, and indeed I believe ever reached out to me at any time to even speak to me, and that includes up to when I was indicted and prosecuted. I believe that, or I understand, I should say, rather, that my attorneys at the time did tell the government that I wanted to speak to them, because I was very keen to meet with anyone so that I could tell, or have them ask me any question. I've never had any problem just to speak to anybody, and I offered myself, and I kept asking if they would meet with me so that I could talk to them, and for whatever reason, that was not happening.
Okay. I have questions that I want to ask you, but I'm not. If there's a question that I'm not asking that you think should be asked, I invite you to volunteer. Same thing goes to your lawyers. Just to start a little bit, very briefly, can you talk about when you first met Mr. Epstein? I know that goes back a while, and just very generally talk about your relationship with Mr. Epstein from the time you met him all the way up until his death.
I met Mr. Epstein in 1991. I'd never heard of him or met him before, and no one in my family had ever either. My father never knew him, and I'll explain why that is the case.
Where did you meet him?
I had a girlfriend who I'd moved to America briefly I'd moved to America in 1990.
Okay.
Moved, that's a big word. I'd come to visit America in 1990. I had been running my own company up until that time, which was a company called Maxwell's Corporate Gifts. And I had also been working for my father at the time. I had multiple jobs with him. I was, in 1990, I was working with a new company of his, a new newspaper that he was launching called The European. And I was...
Hey guys, some commentary on the AI. I think it's pretty clear that these are AI videos. When you have two Bill Clintons walking side by side, twinsies there, and there's a number of other inconsistencies. It was just a lot easier to have some videos produced on the fly for just a quick loop versus securing all the copyright approvals. So we may see more and more of this kind of stuff, but yes, Grok helped me out on this one. So kudos to the X platform Grok. I think it looks pretty good. I'm excited about it. I think I might use it more.
In charge of launching a magazine to go with the European. And I was traveling at that time from England to America because my father was looking to, he'd also bought Macmillan, the publishing house, and he had purchased the New York Daily News. And it's true that my father always wanted me to come back full-time and work for him, but that's a much longer story I don't think we need to go into at this time. So, but I was always working with him. Well, there was no escaping, if it were, as it were, to work with him. So, in 1990, I had come over to New York to help look at some of that. He was having some advertising issues with the New York Daily News, and in fact, I may have met Donald Trump at that time because my father was friendly with him and liked him very much. And I think it be said that he also very much liked Ivana because she was also from Czechoslovakia, where my dad was from. So I don't remember if I did meet him or not in 1990 with my dad, but I knew that that's how I knew about Mr. Trump.
And this was before you met.
This
Thanks
was
for the
before I met
subscribe, Mike.
Epstein?
Yes. So I was already going backwards and forwards in America, and then in April of 1991, I came to New York. I can't remember for what reason, what business reason, but there was a business reason, something to do with my dad at that time. And a girlfriend of mine, who an American, told me I broken up with I've been engaged, getting with a very long-term boyfriend, and we've broken up. And she said, I've got, some girlfriends too. I've got a guy for you to meet. And I was like, who is it? And she goes, he's been dating my sister, and you'll love him. He's looking for a wife. I'm edging towards 30. I don't need to tell you guys that's a very important moment for a girl. I like to think about important things. Sure, I'd be happy to meet him. And so sometime in 1991, we're in 1991, I met him at his office on Madison. And I think the most memorable thing I can think about that is he was wearing a tie, which he didn't often do, and it had a giant tomato ketchup stain in it. I was like, wow, okay. And that was how we met.
Was your meeting at his office for you to meet him just personally, or were you there for work-related reasons?
No, well, I knew nothing about him. He just invited me to come and have tea. And I was like, tea, that's English, okay. But what was unusual was in his offices. So I went to his offices and we met. And I found him very engaging, and that was that.
So, okay, so that's how you meet him. So, and again, I don't want to spend a lot of time, on this particular issue, but what happened with your relationship over the years from the time you meet him in 1991 up until the time he passed away? Just give the highlights.
Okay, so I was looking for real estate for my dad to buy some. He was also looking to move from his apartment, and would I help him? And I said, sure, I'm looking already, so I could look for him. So that's how it started. And then in 1991, my father passed away, and I returned to New York after that, originally to come back and help with family businesses, which was Macmillan. And then the debacle of my father's passing hit the family, and we lost all our businesses, and my family thought that it would be best if I stayed in America because of the intensity of the press and the drama surrounding my father's death in England. So I stayed, and Epstein said, well, you can keep helping me, you can help me find that house, and we can decorate the house. And it gave me something to do.
Were you in a romantic relationship with him at this point, or just friends?
Just friends.
And while we're just, with respect to your father, there have been multiple questions about whether he worked for any intelligence agency. Do you have any knowledge about that?
All right, there you guys go. There is oh my gosh, please stop spamming. What is your problem? You're going to have to go in timeout, I suppose. Timeout for you. Okay. Jeez Louise. So I put a message on there because I guess just verbalizing it that I used Grok to help me just do like a loop. They do a lot of file footage loops, news programs or what have you. but because it used grok, I should put a little label on it because verbally saying it wasn't sufficient. So if you look at the bottom periodically, you'll see something just pop up because, we should be transparent about that stuff. Nobody's trying to pull over anyone's eyes. It's just an easier mechanism to kind of get some footage up while we're watching this. But it's interesting listening to them kind of walk through this. They're getting very detailed, going very far back into some history, early engagements, so forth. Let's see how this meanders and if it connects in with Trump now as they get going. It's only been a few minutes in, but there's a lot more to go with the interview here. And remember, this was over the course of 2 days, so this is like part 1 of 2.
I think, well, certainly my father had background in intelligence because he was, I believe he did in the Second World War. He was a British intelligence officer. I think that my sort of belief is that once you've been an intelligence officer, you're kind of always, it doesn't mean that you're formally employed. So I don't think my dad in any formal sense was, employed by any agency. But when you are a very significant businessman and politician, as my father was, you meet with people all the time and you, I guess, trade business or ideas. I think that would fall under that definition. That's how I would think of it. Now, he certainly, I have no formal knowledge of anything specifically that he did in that thing, but if you're asking me if I thought that he did help people, the answer would be yes, I did.
Did your father and Mr. Epstein have a business relationship over the years? I know we're maybe jumping around a little bit.
They never met. So,
as far as you know, they never even met?
No, I
or you know they never met?
I know they never met.
Well, how do you know they never met?
Thank you. Just categorically, no, they never met. Well, because after, in 1991, before my father died, he asked me if I'd met anybody interesting or whatever, because I was still trying not to be sucked back into the family business. And I told him that I had met Mr. Epstein, and the reason why I shared that I'd met Mr. Epstein because I believed at that time that Epstein worked for Bear Stearns, and Bear Stearns was one of our banks. And I knew that my father was friendly with both Jimmy Kane and with Ace Greenberg. So my dad was actually in New York, I think. If I don't think I had this conversation on the phone, but I honestly we were talking 30 years ago. I'm not sure, but maybe I told him this verbatim because I know that what my dad did, whether I saw it or whether I did it and told me later, I don't remember, but he called both Jimmy Kane and Ace Greenberg to ask what sort of guy he was and was he even allowed to, because,
so they never met.
He didn't even know
but they knew some of the same people, it sounds like, or certainly the Bear Stearns connection was something that you knew that they had.
No, well, he never had a connection with Epstein. He had a connection with the bank. I mean, Epstein, I'd never heard of him or knew of him before, and I certainly, if my dad had known him, right, when I said this is who he was, he didn't know who he was. So he rang Ace and he rang Jimmy to ask if it was okay that I even knew him. And I just want to explain briefly why my father would even do such a thing. I've had some interesting things that have happened in my life, and one of them was to be found on an IRA kidnap and murder. And so after that happened, well, there were other related, I'm not going to bore you with all the horrible things in that vein, but if you want the details, of course, I can. But after that happened, my father wanted to put a lot of protection on me. And I declined on the grounds that would be a very life-restricting event. You're all in law enforcement. I know you understand that. And so he had told me that I would, I would be taking my life in my own hands and whatever. And so I think after that event and several others where I had stalkers and like things that one has, he was always quite protective of me. And so if I met somebody, he would try and verify that they weren't do anything hideous. And so in case you thought it was weird that he would call Jimmy and Ace, you may think it is, but from my perspective, he was just because he was concerned I was in America alone, and he had an opportunity to verify who this person was. And so I don't know if I was in the room with him, but I know that at some point my father told me, he's fine, you can see it.
Yeah.
He's safe.
Okay.
Well, okay.
So we might come back and touch a little bit more on that at some point, but
yeah.
I went down a rabbit hole for a minute.
That's right. I just wanted to.
No, that's helpful. Thank you. So, okay, so you're now in the 90s, and you're friends with Mr. Epstein. Your house, decorating the house or the apartment. What happens with your relationship again? I know we're talking about a 35-year time period or whatever, but to the extent you can kind of at a very high level talk about it.
Listen, I think just full disclosure is the best way to go at this point.
Yeah.
So in 1992, I slept with him one time. And I was like, oh, that's it. We're going to be dating. Because that's how I thought. And I kind of thought of myself in that moment, like, because I felt if we slept with someone that we were then hating them. Yeah. That's the world I came from. But that really was, well, that's how I thought. But we didn't sleep together again for, I don't know, really a significant period of time. And then I came.
Years or?
I don't know if it's a year. That feels long, but maybe 9 months. I mean, a long time.
Okay.
I just want to go back. So I had found a house for him to rent in New York. Because he had asked me, I'd been looking on it for my father, and I found one, which was a former Iranian embassy, I think it was. I think it belonged to the Iranians or the Iraqis.
Okay.
And I didn't know that he had any money, really, and it was like, I want to say it was $12,000 a month, which to me seemed like a fortune. And I said to myself, I found this house, but I don't think you can afford it. It's ridiculous. Of course I can afford it, and he rented it. And that house, it was a State Department house, because I think it was under sequestration or whatever it was. And I put it back together, but there were certain rules you couldn't paint because you had to go back and you gave it back to the country that. So he had this house, and I had moved into a 10-foot by 10-foot apartment because all of our stuff had been either lost or frozen or whatever. So he became, in this moment of my life, great, because I was just like, everything was. It felt very similar to this moment, if that makes sense. Anyway, but I had no key to his house. I had no free access to his house. And in the entire time that he lived there, which was, I believe, until the beginning of 1996, I never slept a single night. Ever.
So
I just have to say that my favorite clip is the one where there's two Bill Clintons. I don't know if you guys knew or noticed that, but the two Bill Clintons walking with her down. I missed that when Grok was creating these, but that's my favorite one. But I don't know. I think it's kind of fun. I mean, it's funny that I think that's become the concentration and not so much the content of what's happening in the interview, because they're just getting warmed up here, guys.
You said a minute ago that that you had slept with him on one occasion, and at the time you remember thinking, that this meant you were in a relationship, but then it didn't. You really were not in that type of relationship.
Well,
did that change over between 91 and 92 or whatever? And
Yeah, that's a good point, Fernando. I think every effort is being made by her legal team too to put her in a position to get a pardon. gain favor with the administration, with whomever she needs to, in order to put herself in that position. And it's, I don't know, is it completely out of the question that something like that might happen? I don't know, but that's definitely what's going on here and what's at stake for them. And it seems like they might be onto something with it. I don't know.
Years forward?
So I did travel with him.
Okay.
So I would go to his houses on the beach. He only had that house actually. No, that's not true. He had the house in Palm Beach, and he had a house in Ohio.
In where?
Ohio.
Okay.
And he had the house in Ohio because of his business relationship with Mr. Wexler. And he had and I had to go and decorate and put that house together. When we traveled together, we made the same, but not in. But I didn't.
Go ahead. It's okay. Oh.
I'll try to adjust the noise,
stayed,
take some of the noise
so you
out,
traveled
make the
then
audio a little
to
bit better.
his house
My
in
mic is
Palm
giving me
Beach,
some feedback too, so
Ohio,
sorry about that, guys.
Or even just traveling. If it was just traveling with him, you would stay in the same bed, so sleep in the same bed with him.
Yes.
Okay.
Epstein told me that he had a heart condition.
Hey, what?
Heart condition.
Heart condition. Okay.
Which meant that he didn't have intercourse a lot. Which suited me fine, because I actually do have a medical condition, which precludes me having a lot of intercourse.
So, what was your understanding of his heart condition and why that prevented him from having intercourse regularly?
I don't know. I mean, he liked other forms of sexual activity.
So guys, if I remove some of the noise filtering, there's a lot of white noise in the background, but it seems like you can hear what they're saying a little bit more clearly. So I'm going to leave it without the audio filters on that was supposed to take care of some of that background noise. I think the pre-processing, or the one that executes it like live on demand during the stream, is not producing as high a quality result as I'd have hoped. But appreciate everybody hanging in here there.
Well, let's come back. We're going to obviously spend a lot of time on the actual conduct he was accused of, so we'll come back to that. So pick up where you were talking about you traveling around with him. He rented the New York former Iranian house until around 96. That time, I believe you said that he was basically your life, like you were with.
Hey, Fernando, thank you so much. I appreciate that very much.
Pretty regularly?
Well, no.
Okay.
So I never was with him regularly. That is one of those misnomers. I mean, at the beginning I did see more of him, but I worked in his office. So I would go to the office and I would see him. And I would count in my head when I would see him, I would count that that'd be a day that I would see him. But I never ever stayed with him. I believe, certainly until 93 or 94, what I didn't know was that I think he was still with his actual girlfriend, who was Eva Anderson, who became Eva Dubin. They had been together, my understanding, I think about 10 years. I'm not sure, but that's what I think, 10 years. And I had understood from my girlfriend initially that they weren't together, and Epstein himself had told me that they were not together, but I don't think that was true. In fact, I know it's not true. So they were still together up until, I think, 94, when at some point in that period of time, Eva met Glenn Dubin, and they got married. I think in 94, I don't remember when they got married. But she was his best friend, and
That is a really weird way to
told me that he always wished that he had married her and had a child with her. And I know that she was family for him for his whole life. And I think even, I'm not sure this is true, but you guys will know if this is true or not. When he came back from Paris and you arrested him, I don't know if Eva was on the plane. Now, I think that either I read it in the discovery that I received, or I saw it somewhere, but even if she wasn't on the plane, there must have been some email communication where she was in Paris at the same time and going to fly back with him. One or the other, I don't know which one is the correct version of that. But so they were still obviously very close and remained throughout the entire fact. He was saw her love. And so I also know now, which I didn't know at the time, was that he saw lots of other women. And I know that now because I can see it from the flight logs, and I know it now because I can see from the emails.
So you know from the case that what happened?
Yes, I didn't know
that along the way.
Contemporaneously, I absolutely did not know.
So, okay, so just, and we're going to spend time on everything you're talking about, but just to kind of close out big picture your relationship. So we're now in the late 90s. Continue on with, again, saying high level to the extent you can about your relationship with him.
So my responsibilities increased with each acquisition that he got and each new project. So I believe the first thing that he purchased after was the ranch in New Mexico.
Okay.
And so what he had tasked me with up until that, and I think that was purchased in 94, if I'm right. So he had tasked me, one of the things that we did was visit, in my mind I say every state, but it wouldn't have been every state, but many states, to go look at real estate and property. And so I know we went to Montana, I know we went to Utah, and it was to go look at real estate. It was fun, to be honest. And then I arranged for us to go to New Mexico, and he just loved New Mexico. And then I don't remember how the ranch happened. I don't remember that now. It's lost. And then he ended up buying the ranch. And I think, if I'm right, it came from the kings who may have been the governor. Bought the ranch, and then I had to deal with that. And dealing with that was extensive. I mean, the way that I thought of myself, or the way that I think is the best way to explain how I view my role, was as a general manager, because each property to me was like a hotel. So the ranch was very challenging, because not only that, but it had BLM land. So to maintain your BLM, you had to have cattle. And I love animals, and so the first thing, horses, and so I wanted it. If you're going to have a ranch, I like authenticity, and so I don't think you should have a ranch if you're not going to have the things that make it special.
So were you?
Hey guys, you might have seen a timeout notice pop up, but Loving Mayberry, there's certain comments that we just can't go there, right? I think, speak freely, we could throw things around, tease, say funny stuff, but there's certain things that we need to just understand that's not okay to go there, right?
Were you paid by him along the way?
So I
time?
became salaried.
NOLA G, I'll have you know that I am a NOLA G as well.
At some point, my memory is that I got paid $25,000 a year to begin with. That's my memory. I may be wrong. And then with each, as it became more obvious, because I kept thinking I was going to have a home being England, and but it.
Did you, and financially, you were not relying on him. The $25,000 or whatever amount you were paid, were you relying on that money to live and his generosity to live, or did you have your own money?
So there's a.
And again, I want to just make sure we're talking about like keeping it between like the late 90s, maybe I guess into a little of the 2000s.
I just want to hit.
Guys, I just noticed there's one clip where there's literally 2 Bill Clintons in it, right? And there's another clip I just saw a second ago where there's literally 2 Joe Bidens in it. So it's all for fun. Just interesting footage that's been created of, walking through crowds, walking through the paparazzi, out in front of a courthouse, in the slammer, but there should be a little note that pops up periodically at the bottom that's saying this is in fact grok, which does a really nice job with it.
On the head right now, there's a tremendous amount of reporting that said that I had a trust fund. Thank you. A trust fund. I have never had a trust fund at any time.
Well, Brent, luckily, I'm not a professional.
So how did you live? Did you live with I mean, 25,000 is not enough to live on.
No. So I had, during this period of time, the the serious fraud squad had come to see me in relation to my father's passing, and to establish whether I had been involved in any way with his business or with any shenanigans. I think I've told the story many times, so I don't know if it's now somewhat hypocritical, but I'll tell you what my memory is. So I received a letter from them that said about my business, and my memory may be hypocritical. There's a PS that said, "Are you Snow White's cousin?" I had nothing. I was never involved in any of his business, whatever. So I was free. And
Were you? So, but obviously your father and your family had a lot of businesses. Is it because the money, whatever money or whatever equity was in the businesses, just stayed with your other family members?
No, there was no money. So my father was never attached to money. He was born a peasant, a real one. Dirt floor, no shoes, no clothes. Some clothes, but not, sorry, I don't mean to say, and nothing. And he was never into that. I mean, there were things that he had his extravagances. He loved his boat and his plane. So obviously you need money for that, but there was nothing else. And there was not a single penny that came to any of us at any time, ever.
Okay, so when you're talking about your life with Mr. Epstein in the 90s, you're very different financially. You're very different financially positioned than he is. Meaning,
Absolutely.
He's giving you money. He's paying for when you fly. He, I assume,
Absolutely.
pays for your flights.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so I interrupted you when you were saying how you were functioning as general manager. You helped with the New Mexico ranch. So did your role with him continue like that for many years, or for how long?
So I continued in 2000. Well, by 1999, our relationship had foundered.
Why?
Well, two reasons. We were never sleeping together again, so we stopped having sexual relations in 1999. Not full sex, sorry, just to be clear. Didn't mean that we didn't still share a bedroom sometimes or whatever. He had another girlfriend.
He had what?
Other girlfriends. I definitively knew that it was over after 9/11, actually, because we were both in New York. And I don't know, were you in New York in 9/11? I mean, 9/11's... and it was a scary time if you were in New York. You didn't know. I didn't know. Nobody knew what was going on. And he was in 71st Street and I was in 65th Street, my house. And he wouldn't see me at all. Asked me, his mum, who I was very close to, was in hospital at Lenox Hill, just asked me to look after her. And then I knew, as anyone did at that time, if you're not going to be there for someone in 9/11, you're never going to be there. So for me, that was the line in the sand. And he had another English girlfriend, actually.
Yeah, oh, wow. Okay, I'm not going to say your username, but I think you're 100% right. I'm really surprised. Like, if you recorded on your iPhone, it would have come out, like, immaculate. Why they didn't do that using the voice recording app, who knows? But I'm going to add the noise suppression back on there because there's way too much white noise right now during this portion. Earlier, folks were complaining that the noise suppression that was added in actually detracted from it. Let me just add in the noise suppression, and we'll get back going here. Hopefully that's better.
Are you though still on his? Are you still being paid by him at this point?
Yes.
Okay, so go ahead. So what at that point when you say you realize kind of?
Well, I mean, I'm talking about I wanted to get married and have children, and Epstein had encouraged me to believe that would, I don't know about them, certainly by the late 90s anyway, the marriage part was never going to happen. I had believed that maybe in 96, 97, 98 maybe, but then I realized it wasn't that. But I did think that we might have a child, which is what I had really wanted. I realized...
So what happens between 2001 and then 2019 with your relationship with him?
So
give or take 2001.
So we stopped having physicality. I mean, that doesn't mean we weren't friends. I certainly did stay sometimes in his room. I mean, friends with benefits, if you will, just not sex. So, and I started dating.
Okay.
And I met someone that I fell very much in love with in 2003. His name was Ted Waite. Ted Waite, you may know as the founder of Gateway Computers. And we had an amazing relationship that went on until 2010, I think, and I was with Ted from that time.
Did you meet him through Mr. Epstein?
No, well, indirectly, I suppose you could say. So. No, they never met. I was at a dinner where I met Ted, but it wasn't. I was with President Clinton. President Clinton was my friend, not Epstein's friend. And Epstein had flown him. And there was a dinner, and Ted came to the dinner. So I guess indirectly through Mr. Epstein, because it was his plane, but I'd have been there anyway without him. Was
Epstein on the plane when you guys flew?
On that trip, yes. Yes. Yes.
So when you say the dinner was where?
Okay.
Okay. And so you had flown over with. So who was on the plane for that trip? I don't mean everybody. When you said so, Mr. Epstein was on the plane.
Yes.
You were on the plane.
Yes.
Who else that you can remember? I'm not. You only know what you remember.
Was President Clinton on the plane?
Clinton. He would have had his guy, Todd Blanche. Maybe Jason Cooper. Maybe a couple of two.
And so why? So how do you meet? Why do you say that's when you met him and that you met him through Clinton?
Well, it was I don't think Ted would have been there had it not been it was a President Clinton dinner, and Ted came with President Clinton, not to do with Mr. Epstein. Does that make sense?
Yes.
That's why I say that.
Okay, so so in the time that you're dating, that you're with him to 2009, are you still working for Mr. Epstein during that time?
It'd be true to say that Jeffrey tried very hard, Mr. Epstein tried very hard to keep me to working for him, because I mean, this is a complex operation. I'm not talking about anything untoward, just the sheer size of the project. I'm talking the construction projects, the houses, staff. It's a really significant job. And I ran all the properties, the staff in the property, the management of the properties, and all the construction. And we're talking tens of millions of dollars for island. I can't remember what the budget was for the construction on any given year. It's gone. But these are very significant projects. And so that was what I did, and I managed the budgets. Well, I didn't manage the budgets, I oversaw the budgets. So I would just make sure that if you said you bought an air conditioning plant, I saw an air conditioning plant, and I could call the island manager. Did you receive the carrier, whatever, you know?
When did Mr. Epstein purchase the island?
I want to say 96 or 97, something like that.
Okay, so we're going to come back and spend more time on the money with respect to Mr. Epstein and his wealth, but just so we can finish this. So in 2009, you ended a relationship with Ted?
2009, 2010.
Okay.
I can't remember if it was 10.
Okay.
I don't remember.
So in that time period, what happens next as far as your relationship with Mr. Epstein?
I don't have one with him.
You don't have one of him, like, you don't see him, or it's just a different relationship?
I did see, I maybe saw him once or twice, or maybe even 3 times. I certainly went to his house once.
I will be right back. Just taking a quick break and let this keep going now.
Before, maybe twice, but I was not seeing him. The only time that I was in touch with him was when the things happened, like things, I mean, in the press that affected me, or when the CVRA case was filed and there was all that rubbish that went out, because I needed information, because I didn't know anything about what was happening, and I needed his help. I doesn't make it sound right. Rephrase that. I don't mean his help. I meant to have answers so that I had an ability to defend myself. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking
So
anything.
when does that relationship change? So you're working, you talked about when the physical relationship stopped, and then you're still working for him or with him, managing his properties and serving as like a general manager. You then start your own relationship with another individual, with Ted, from 2003 till 2009 or 10. At what point in that whole period is there like more of a break where you're no longer acting as his general manager?
I wanted to have a full break when I started dating Ted, and he was clever. I suppose it would be true to say that I sort of viewed Mr. Epstein at that point as sort of family, if you will, like someone I could rely on. And I should have had more confidence in myself. I can see that now. But at the time, given everything that had happened in my life, I thought that it would, and I saw how he was with other people like Eva, who seemed to be very comfortable saying that. I thought this would be, and he always said I was like family. So he worked hard to maintain a relationship with me. He was generous with me. He let me use the plane, which was very generous. He would check in with my mum. Things that were meaningful to me in that time. And then it may still not have worked, but that his mother, Paula, had been in a very serious car crash, and she had become sort of like a surrogate mother for me. So because my mum wasn't there, I could look after her the way that I would. The way that I would have liked to look after my own mum. So I became very close to his mother, and she had been in a car crash, and in 2004, I believe, it may have been 5, I don't recall exactly, her health took a serious decline. And Epstein called me and asked me if I could look after her. By looking after her, that meant organizing her doctors, making sure she had new clothes, making sure her house was clean.
Where was she?
She lived in a retirement establishment outside of Palm Beach, it's West Palm. I was going to say something like the Golden Girls, but it's not called that. I just don't remember what it's called. But it was an old age. It was a retirement home, if you will.
Todd, I don't know. We've been going for maybe about an hour now. Do you think, is this a good time?
Yeah. So we'll take a break. Yeah.
All right, so we're going to take a break. The time is 10:56. continuing the proper interview with Miss Maxwell. The time is 11:07 a.m. on Thursday, July 24th.
All right. So, just picking up where we just stopped. So you have basically a break. Well, not a break. That's the wrong word. But your relationship with Mr. Maxwell, professional and other, changes in 2003-4.
Yeah, I mean, and over the time that I stay with Ted, the more time I'm with Ted, the more distance I have with him. And then when the arrest, well, let's go back, whatever happened in 2005 and he became arrested in 2000.
So when he's charged and arrested in what we'll call the Florida investigations, that's what you're talking about.
I am.
Okay, go ahead.
So I was not in. Well,
were you part of that investigation?
Absolutely.
Did law enforcement ever talk to you as
No.
part of that? Did you, like, the feds never talked to you?
No.
The FBI never talked to you?
No. I never even received a phone call.
So you didn't receive a subpoena?
No.
Did the state law enforcement ever reach out to you?
No.
As far as you know, did the government, either state or federal, subpoena your bank records or subpoena anything from your financial life during that time, that time?
Not as far as I'm aware. Now, if they did, I don't know it, and I have no idea about that. To be honest, but I'm not aware of it, and I would say no. But maybe you guys do things that I don't know.
So how did you learn of that case when Mr. Epstein was arrested, or did you know that something was happening before then?
The first thing I knew was he had told me he was deciding to redecorate the house in Palm Beach. It didn't surprise me. It was like a rolling situation.
But by that time, are you like, he tells you because he wants your help, or had your relationship changed by this time where you were no longer kind of acting as his general manager?
No, I was still around. I wasn't gone. I was with Ted. I was traveling. I wasn't daily. If you'd asked me where he was in any given time, I'm not sure I would have known then. I mean, it was. I felt like I suppose the relationship moved into sort of like a long-term friend, family, like I felt he had with Eva, if I'm honest.
Yeah, okay. So he says to you he's going to redecorate the Palm Beach house.
He asked me specifically which decorator he thinks he should use, because I had a lot of contacts with decorators, and he was not very good with people. He was useless at maintaining relationships with people who worked for him. I'm not. So, anyways, I think I recommended, I can't be 100% sure because it's been a long time, but I think I recommended Mark Zeff at that time.
Who?
Mark Zeff.
Okay.
I believe. And I don't know why. I don't remember. That's all lost to time. But anyway, at some point, I think his mother had died now. I can't remember the timing of all of that either.
Okay.
But I ended up in Palm Beach, and he had asked me to come and look at the swatches or whatever he was doing, because they had laid it all out over the house and various things, and I think he'd asked for my opinion. That's my memory of this. It may also be that Ted and I were going to Palm Beach because Ted had a golf match or something. There was a reason I was in Palm Beach. It wasn't solely... maybe that's not true either. I don't know. So
okay.
There's sometimes I went to Palm Beach because Ted was there. I don't know if that's part of that time or not. Or Ted went there and left me. I don't know. Something. Anyway, I was there. No, that's not how that. No. Anyway, at some point in that time, I saw all the swatches. At some point in 2005, I think that was. And then, I believe, I don't remember. I think I got a phone call, actually. I wasn't in Palm Beach. I think I got a phone call that there was a police at his house or something. There was a...
Would you have gotten a phone call from him, or you think you just told by somebody that knew that it had happened, or don't you remember?
Definitely not him.
Okay.
I think it would have been the houseman.
So when that happens, whenever it was, that's kind of the first time you know that Mr. Epstein's being investigated for?
I didn't even know I didn't even understand.
Okay.
I didn't have a context for that. It was
Okay.
like I didn't even know. I didn't know.
Okay,
I didn't. I'm not sure even what I thought. I was like,
So
that's weird.
after you find out about it, what happens with your relationship with him?
I asked him what was going on, and he said, not to worry, nothing, taking it, don't worry about it. And I was like, and then it all went quiet. He didn't say, he didn't share. I wasn't part of it at all. I was off with Ted, and I really just.
But did he tell you? Well, why don't we come back to more specifics around that time period in a few minutes? I want to just finish this opening part. So that case goes on. Ultimately, it ends. What was your relationship like with him during that case when he goes?
Hey, Tex, thanks for the tip. Appreciate it.
He told me, he said, listen, I'm going to jail. I was like, oh, okay. And he goes, I'd like you to stay on board to manage the properties, the animals, this and that, and just stay put, and I'll continue to pay you in case there's any emergency. I don't trust anyone. And I was like, okay.
Well, when you said continue to pay you,
He'd never stopped paying me.
He never stopped paying. So even when your relationship changes, does the amount increase from the $25,000 or so a year in the beginning? Like, how much are you getting paid yearly?
I think it ended at the time. Well, we have different payment structures, and I'm happy to explain how that works. But I think salary-wise, if I'm right, it ended at around $250,000 a year.
How much?
$250,000, $250,000.
And when did it end? When was that it stopped?
2008 or 9.
So
9. When did he come out of jail? Whenever he came out of jail.
Okay. So, and over the years, it increased from what you said was you thought about 25,000 to 250,000. That's between like early 90s until 2009 or 10, whenever he stopped. Is that right?
Yes.
And how were you paid?
W-2.
W-2 from what company? Or do you?
He just moved me around over to this company, that. I didn't care.
Okay.
And I didn't care, and I didn't understand any rhyme or reason. It doesn't, I was, whatever.
Okay, so when he's going to go to jail, he says, can you stay around and manage everything?
Yeah.
And do you do that?
I do.
Okay. And then we'll come back to that.
I will not manage everything, no. I mean, there are other people at this point. My specific role then was very, very diminished. Okay. I reviewed the bill structure that came from the constructions that was still made the island.
Okay.
And wherever else I was going, Paris at this point, because I speak French, I'm fluent in French. And also my relationship with the French decorator was critical to him. In the French component part of that aspect was really vital. And so you'd have had to find someone who was, and Spanish, trilingual. You would have had to find someone who was trilingual and that he trusted.
Did you?
To not steal from him.
Did you? So when he gets out of jail, between that time, 2009 or 10, and 2019, what's your relationship like with Mr. Epstein?
Almost non-existent.
Why?
I had just moved on, and I just didn't want to have anything. I didn't want the drama. I didn't want to be associated with.
So, do you recall? When you say almost non-existent, does that mean
doesn't mean
some phone calls, some visits, some trips, or what does it mean?
I don't think there were any trips. Oh, I don't think so.
And where were you living during that time period, or was it
which time period?
Between 2009, 10, and 2019?
I was back in New York.
Okay. So you had no. So you had phone calls with him on occasion?
Yes. Well, I certainly did. Whenever there was any legal drama or any serious press attention, I always called him to try and find out what was going on.
Okay.
And I did email him at that time for those types of details. I was like, what do I do? I was like.
And then when he's charged in New York federally, how did you learn about that case?
In the press.
And had you, as far as you know, been contacted by law enforcement before his arrest.
No. I wasn't in the indictment.
You know,
No, I know that, but even as a
Pigeon, stop using AI. AI is great. There's a comment at the bottom that pops up, tells you that Grok made it. I think it's pretty clear, everybody. It's something interesting to look at because only audio tapes were released. There's no video, of course, for these. But thanks for your feedback, Pigeon. Noted.
witness or asking you if you would give documents or materials.
I had never, up until when my lawyers said that, I don't even know, I had no knowledge of them being interested in me. Honestly, I want to say until he had died. Now, I know that my lawyers were in touch with some district of New York at some point after his arrest. I'm pretty sure that had to have happened, right?
Okay.
But my understanding is that they had not shown any interest. I know my lawyers went to see them once, I believe. And
went to see him, meaning Mr. Epstein?
No, them, the Southern District of New York.
Okay, the Southern New York.
Sorry. And that they had been in touch with them.
But now you're talking about after Mr. Epstein died, or are you talking about before he died?
I think.
If you can remember.
It's easily verifiable. My memory is that they were in touch with him when he was arrested.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if anything happened until after his death, then after that.
Okay.
I don't think they saw them, met with them, Southern District of New York I'm talking about now, until after he died. I know that they were in regular telephone contact with them, and that
Andrew, thank you so much. That's all I wanted to do. These are the only released audio. Like with the Supreme Court, too. All of the cases that they have, by and large, they release audio. There's no video associated with it. In fact, the audio is, I think, a relatively new thing. And so it's, I don't know, sometimes a little bit difficult. I mean, you could set your phone to the side. It's late. You can put it out there as kind of your ASMR and kind of go to sleep with it if you want. But it kind of gives you something to kind of get locked in on and focus. But I appreciate that, though, Andrew. And I'm not stopping. I'm going to keep doing this, guys.
lawyers believe that they had been told that there was no interest in me.
Okay.
And were absolutely stunned when I was arrested. But maybe stunned is too big a word, but surprised. I certainly was.
Okay. So that's was a long description of what was a very long life, and that was very helpful. So I want to go back and talk more specifically now about particular areas, but that was a very helpful kind of foundation for us. The first thing I want to talk about, you talked about earlier on about Mr. Epstein's financial success. Do you know how when you first meet him at some point, you say, I got this place for you to rent, you can't afford it, and he laughs at you and says, yes, I can. What did you learn about his wealth and how he was, and how he accumulated his money?
I can tell you what he told me.
Yes.
So I know that he was hired from working at a private school whose name eludes me at this point. Dalton. He was working at Dalton as a math teacher. And he met, I think it was Ace, I'm not sure. He met someone from Bear who hired him because he was very good at math. And I believe that he then worked on creating a trading of
Just describe it. It's okay. Go ahead.
He came up with some new type of trading system. Not a system so much, but as a vehicle, a trading vehicle.
Okay.
That I'm just escaping right now.
And this is while he was working at Bear?
At Bear Stearns, yes.
Okay.
And
And was this before you met him?
Yes.
So this is what he told you?
Yes.
And what you learned?
Yes. This is what he told me himself.
And then eventually he starts a financial firm? Do you know that to be true or no? J. Epstein and Company. You ever heard of
I think
that?
it's yes. So hang on a minute. So this I did not know, but this I have subsequently learned is that he had some problem or some issue at Bear Stearns, and there was some disagreement. He wasn't fired because obviously he was still very friendly with Ace and with Jimmy, at least by the time I met him. But they were working with him, and he had money at Bear Stearns. His money, his client's money. Well, I'll come to that.
So there you guys go. A Nokia 3310, as mentioned. They're clearly recording on this particular device. Good call. That was a very good call.
But he he told me himself that he started a business where he looked for stolen money. So if somebody, let's see, I'm trying to think of some intelligent way to say it, but I can't think of anything. I've been with, not very, I'll give it to you. So let's say you have El Chapo. God, I don't know where he comes from, but anyway, we've got El Chapo, and El Chapo's laundering money, or he's working with the Sinaloa cartel, and he steals money from the Sinaloa cartel, and he moves it to wherever. So he's got stolen money from the Sinaloa, goes to it. This didn't happen. I'm just just coming up with something in my head. And the Sinaloa says to Epstein, can you track down my $1 billion that the other cartels sold from me? And Epstein will go and find the $1 billion and will take a portion of the money that was stolen as a fee and give back the remainder. That would be on a percentage basis.
No, but like what you just described, which I appreciate, which is that would involve like two kind of drug cartels stealing from each other. Practically speaking, he was more of a businessman.
So
correct?
Here's how I think it started: is that he had a girlfriend. It was always good. You're always to the girls. I guess there was a girl whose name will come back to me. Maybe not whilst we're here, but I don't know. Maybe there's a woman. There's always a woman, and she was the daughter of a billionaire, for instance, and that billionaire, whatever his name was, had some money stolen, and for some reason, this woman introduced Jeffrey, and Jeffrey, I think that's how that business started. That's what I remember.
And is that something he told you about, or something that happened while you knew him?
No, something he told me before I met him.
And so when...
That's the part that I'm not clear on, and I don't think I've heard a very clear response to, is how he came to acquire all those funds, how he got all this money. I don't think that's been clearly articulated, or maybe I just haven't paid close enough attention to it. I've just heard varying stories, but no definitive, this is what he did.
Meet him, and once you're part of his life in the early to mid-90s, what is he doing to make money that you see? Does he have clients? Does he have rich clients? Does he have famous clients? And how, and what, if he does have clients, what service is he providing them?
He does have, well, obviously there's the one very famous client that everybody talks about, which is Les Wexner. And that was a very important client to him. And I think it's probably helpful to describe what I know to be true about what he managed for Les. And there's some bits that I'll be improvising.
Yep.
I want to just make you understand I was not part of Epstein's business world, except tangentially and obviously. So what I'm talking about is what I observed, or what I overheard, or what I saw within the business, but I wasn't responsible for any of the client's money or anything like that. So it's separate.
Okay. Yep, I understand.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So with Les, for instance, it was really all-encompassing. It could go from the structure of the business. So he structured or restructured the limited. I know that. And I'll come back to that because I also travelled with him and Les. And I was in business meetings with them on the plane when they were there. So I could observe and I could hear some of this. And whilst I'm not necessarily terribly business sophisticated. I'm sophisticated enough to be able to at least have some knowledge of what was happening. All right, so then he restructured the business. He restructured his entire personal finances and would also handle all of the investment strategy. I don't know if it was 100%.
Mr. Wexner, you're saying?
Sorry, yes. This is all Wexner I'm talking about now. So let's say you had $1 billion. To invest. So you would, in people's normal investment portfolios, you'd have, some T-bonds.
All right, I just changed wires. Unfortunately, didn't flip a switch on when I did so. I'm trying to just test that my audio is okay. I'm going to listen to the playback here on a different device, see what it sounds like.
This and that, but Epstein's strategies would be much more sophisticated than that.
And so just staying with Mr. Wexner, this, from what you heard or saw, is Mr. Epstein paid by him in percentages? Like, so there would be a deal and he would be paid, or did you understand it to be like a flat fee? Was he a business partner? Like, how did you understand him to be paid?
I think it was more a la carte.
Okay,
so
I
let's
think
say
it sounds a little bit better. I still hear a little bit of scratchiness, but not the worst thing in the world. Horrendous AI says Doge MF. My goodness. Man, if I don't even know. There's been so many comments about that. Maybe I should keep doing this, get some good engagement out of it. But in any case, so I'm going to say puck, like a hockey puck. We have to be honest. She was too flustered to create a good lie there. She gave away the fact that the only stolen money he was finding was for criminals because legitimate companies used lawyers. Yeah, it's you can hear it in the tone of voice, just like, I mean, exactly like you're pointing out, that her tone of voice, I'm sure if we had video, you'd see mannerisms, arms crossed, fidgeting quite a bit, looking off to the side, not looking at the interviewer. She sounds out of breath almost, and there's a lot of anticipation, I'm assuming, going into this session that she wants to do a good job for whatever reason. I don't know, something's been promised to her or what, but it's a strange bit of delivery that's happening right now, or how it's being delivered, not just the content. The content's off too a little bit, but the delivery is doesn't sound quite right either.
This is a conversation actually Epstein told me. So that illustrated for me, said if I saved someone $5 billion, he would take a flat percentage of that $5 billion. He wouldn't have $5 billion back.
When you say you think that, is that because you heard him talking about that, or you?
It'll be a combination of both. I certainly told me that, and I heard him talk to people like that. I couldn't. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
No.
Did he give? Did Mr. Wexner gift a property in New York to Mr. Epstein?
So we're talking about 71st Street. So I don't know what the business deal was. Because again, I'm not part of his business thing. But I think what happened would be that, let's say Les owed him, theoretically, for his services, $100 million or whatever it was. He could have traded that against the property.
But do you know that happened, or do you remember whether there was conversations about that, or are you just thinking that could be one way that it happened?
I'm not sure. And I'm not trying to be, I just don't remember if that's something I know, or if that's something that I remember, or if it's something that I subsequently know. I believe that to be what happened, but I don't want to tell you that I have. Does that make sense?
Did Mr. Wexner and Mr. Epstein, are you aware of their falling out that they ultimately had?
I think I wasn't there, and I don't know how it happened. I only know what Les has said in the press.
So you only know about their, their falling out or whatever you want to call it, from what you've kind of read, not from any firsthand knowledge. You weren't there. You weren't part of that.
Correct.
Do you know somebody named Stephen Hoffenberg?
Only from the press.
Okay. And so you don't know anything about whatever business relationship they may have had, Mr. Epstein?
Never spoke about him, never mentioned it. I only learned about that, whatever that is, even I don't even know what the truth is of that story, from the press.
How about Leon Black?
Oh, I did meet Leon. I do know Leon.
When do you remember, and again, I know we're talking about a very long time ago, but do you remember approximately when you met him?
I could have met Leon, not really. So I might have met him, nothing to do, because Leon Black is very good friends with other friends of mine. I would have met him when I say socially. I might have met him. How Leon and Epstein became really good friends, I'm not sure.
But not through you, as far as you recall.
Not through me, as far as I know. No. I'm sure that's not through me.
Do you know what kind of work Mr. Epstein was doing for Mr. Black over the years?
Same as what he did for Wexner.
So we just talked about two individuals, and again, I know we're talking about maybe a 15-year time period or even longer. How many clients like that did Mr. Epstein have?
Well, why don't I just give you the names that I remember? And
Say that again?
Why won't I just give you the names?
Yeah.
Do you want the names?
No, sure. Go ahead.
Elizabeth Johnson, Johnson & Johnson.
When did, as far as you know, when did the relationship between Ms. Johnson and Mr. Epstein start?
90s. 95, 96.
So during the time period.
Yes, we're talking 90s. We're talking when I was there, when I was around.
How did the relationship start?
I don't know how he became that friendly boy. He ended up managing her money. I wasn't there. I mean, I really had a separate life. We really had separate lives,
Okay.
except where they said.
But it wasn't from.
It wasn't from me.
From you.
No, it was not.
Okay. And what's your understanding of what Mr. Epstein did for Ms. Johnson?
Same as what he did for Wexner. And when you have to understand, it went down to in tiny detail. So I remember this is an actual memory, that he would make the contracts for the maids, for the people who worked in their homes.
So he would assist his clients at times with, you're saying, with even small things like contractual relationships.
He said no detail was too small, because everything that affected how they lived and how they managed their life was something that he felt he was, if they wanted, would be responsible for.
Sounds like controlling and making sure he's tying up loose ends or have some leverage, a mechanism to obtain that. That's really strange.
To make sure that the contract, so that if you had to fire someone, it wouldn't come back and sue you, or if that sort of thing.
Okay, so Mr. Black, Mr. Werner, Miss Johnson, who else?
What's the name of the woman from the fire? Oh, man.
This one named Jess Staley?
Yeah, I do know Jeff.
Who's that?
He was at Morgan Stanley and at Barclays.
What do you know whether he and Mr. Epstein had a relationship?
Well, not a physical one.
I didn't suggest it. No, I'm saying a relationship in the broadest sense of the word. Business, personal,
Yes.
both. Okay.
Yes, both.
Okay. And do you know when they met?
No, I don't know when they met. But you can time it. Well, I don't know that you can. No, I don't know.
So, but what was the nature of their relationship as far as you know?
I think they were friends, and I think that they were business partners. Well, partners, too strong a word, but they did business together.
So, did you, again, I want to stay focused on the time when you were the most involved in his life. So,
the 90s.
The early 90s through early 2000s.
Beginning of the 2000s, yes.
Did you, so we talked about 4 people. So
There's more.
Were there more? Okay.
Oh, yes, there were more. There was a lady whose name I just can't Can I get my book? Maybe I wrote them down.
Sure.
Why am I going? Epstein wouldn't really let me meet his clients.
What book are you? What is that?
I'd write some notes for the meeting.
Okay, great. Okay.
Is that right?
No, that's fine. I just was curious what we're looking at.
Oh, okay.
Not the birthday book.
It's not the book.
No, we're going to come to that, I'm sure.
Yeah.
All right. I wrote down some names because I tried to make... I just want you to understand my memory's not as good as it was because when I was in Brooklyn, I was in the SHU for almost 2 years. And I was on suicide watch for almost 2 years, which meant that they woke me up every 15 minutes for the entire time. And it really did affect my ability to
Understand.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm not.
So you've taken some notes.
I just made some names in advance
so go ahead.
of it,
So
and you're happy to look.
Yeah, I think that's a little unusual too. I don't know what's up with that. I don't think I've ever heard of something like that. Let me reference those, right?
no, go ahead.
Okay. Well, funny you said it. First two names. One is Wexner, two is Staley, three is Leon Black.
Okay.
Glenn Dubin was a
Okay.
client.
Who's that?
Eva Dubin's husband.
Okay. What was there? I mean, if you can, do you know when that relationship started?
It wouldn't have been before they got married for sure. So we were going to date that from wherever that was. And then Epstein was heavily involved with Highbridge Capital and the financing or selling of Highbridge to JP Morgan.
Okay. Go ahead. As a Dublin, yep.
Okay, you're only looking for clients, so. All right, there's a woman. There's a woman in Ohio. I just can't think of her name, but I tried to remember it yesterday, and I can't.
So this is a good thing. Like, as you think of things, write it down, and if they have any other names, they'll ask you. But don't force it out. So you'll have time to think about this, especially today, this afternoon, overnight, because we'll probably meet tomorrow.
But you can find them. I mean, if you basically find a billionaire female.
So there's a woman in Ohio who's wealthy.
Well, you can identify her yourself because she had the largest Klein painting that was huge. So you can find her because it'll be in the museum. So that's her.
So that was one of Mr. Epstein's clients. She was one of Mr. Epstein's clients as well.
Yes.
Okay. Who else?
Well, I think that there was other people that he would assist. I know that he helped Lynn Forrester, who became Linda Rothschild. She'll deny it, and she has, but she can't.
And when you say help, the same
help
in business or what help?
No idea what he did for her. I know he helped her financially. Her husband was the controller of New York. So, but I don't. Again, I'm not inside his business. But he would have this notion that he blackmailed men. We don't really have to go there. That he wasn't a businessman and that everything he did was a fraud or a funk or whatever. I don't believe that to be true.
Why?
Sorry?
Why do you? So you say you don't believe it to be true, but show me why you think that.
Okay.
Just I know you've been talking about it. That he was very conscientious. He was very good at math. He paid a lot of attention to his clients. But yes, you're right. There's allegations of blackmail, or also that there was some level of fraud involved in what he did, and you don't believe it. Why do you say that?
Well, let me rephrase that. If there was fraud, I never saw it. What I saw or what I felt when I ran that office. I was responsible for the staff. People worked. There were lawyers. There were accountants. I never heard him. I never felt anything. Icky.
Did you ever see him blackmail
Never.
a client? Did
No.
you ever see him blackmail a friend or an acquaintance?
No.
Well, so I think when folks talk about blackmail, and we can talk about we can talk about that now. There are a lot of allegations about him, which we should talk about. And
So these allegations of the blackmail, that's what I had heard in terms of how he had made his money, which is crazy to think, hundreds of millions like that, but that's what I'd heard on the news. It was a lot of it through some nefarious means, not necessarily that he created anything.
do that now, and the fact that he abused young women.
Yes.
Full stop. Okay, which means the way that I'm defining abuse, as has been widely reported, is that he would cause young women in high school to be recruited to come to his house and give them massages, and as part of that, he would sexually abuse them. Okay,
yes.
So I want to talk about that, but as it relates to blackmail, the question is whether you're aware of any time that any of the individuals we're talking about, and we'll talk about others, receive massages from women who are under 18 or may have been under 18, and that whether there was any sexual assaults or sexual contact between any of these people and those masseuses, which would have allowed then Mr. Epstein potentially to blackmail them and say, you have to continue to work with me, or you have to give me money, or else I'm going to tell the world that you did this.
Right. I think this is a really good place to start with how this story began.
Okay.
So let's assume that premise is correct, that he was doing that and he was going to tell everybody, going to say, you had inappropriate relations with an underage girl. If you don't have video or photographic evidence, I'm not sure that even the FBI would take that, well, maybe today, but certainly not back then, would take that seriously. So you have to have something to say, hey, look, I've got this video of you doing terrible things, and you need to. So I built those houses, many of them. I decorated those houses. I put the electricians in for the wiring. I never wired nor saw a single house that had any type of inappropriate, let's say, video surveillance, and I'll define that for you. Inappropriate surveillance would mean in a bathroom, in a bedroom, in any private area of a home.
In a room where there were massages given.
Inappropriate. I would define appropriate surveillance to be the front door of a house, or potentially, as in 71st Street, the physical plant. Anywhere else would be grotesque.
So I just want to come back to, I know I'm just hopefully saying the obvious, but when you say the houses, you're talking about his New York
Yes.
brownstone.
Yes.
You're talking about the island in the Caribbean.
Yes.
You're talking about the residence in Palm Beach.
Yes.
And you're talking about the ranch in New Mexico.
Yes.
Anywhere else?
Paris.
And in Paris. And so...
And the plane. I saw some ridiculous thing with the plane that was, well, mind you, yes. I didn't hire any electrician on the plane.
So unequivocally, from what you know, and you only know what you know.
I only know what I know.
But from what you know, you do not believe a camera exists, or a video camera, or a camera that takes pictures inside any of his residences.
Correct.
So even the appropriate cameras that you just talked about, which would be kind of exterior security cameras, did you know whether there was any cameras that you're aware of inside any of the locations?
Never, with one exception.
Okay. What's the exception?
The exception is Palm Beach.
Okay.
And the reason, so in Palm Beach, Epstein was having money stolen. He noticed money was being stolen from his briefcase, call it his briefcase. And he called in the Palm Beach police, and the Palm Beach police, installed cameras on where he kept his briefcase.
Where was that? Do you remember?
At his desk. So the house on the ground floor was, he had a desk sort of in a corner. There was that camera. I think there was another camera. I think there were 2 or maybe 3 cameras. I believe only on the ground floor, wherever he may have had. Maybe he had another office in the cabana. There may have been a camera there.
When was this? I'm not looking for an exact date, but what time period are you thinking about when you say
2003. I think I can date it for you precisely, actually. 2003, I'm pretty firm on that date. And I can be firm because John Alessi, the butler, was fired in the end of 2002, and he was the thief.
So aside from law enforcement installing a camera to try to catch somebody stealing money from Mr. Epstein, you're not aware of any cameras at the island?
Thanks for the follow on Facebook.
Sorry,
Neil.
Just so we record it. No,
sorry.
that's okay. You were nodding your head no. So what about...
No cameras anywhere outside of possibly things that I would consider normal. So the garage gate, something like that, a front door.
Outside, like security cameras.
Cameras. And there were cameras inside in the 71st Street that did the physical plant, because it was a commercial building. So you had the hot water. That's a real thing. That's a commercial building, and there were There was one camera on the front door, from the internal that did the front door, as I recall. But there were no other cameras inside the house.
Right. Oh, sorry, Williamson. AI is really messing up. If you're talking about just inconsistencies in what you see visually, yeah, there's artifacts that you can spot all over the place that'll tip you off that this is in fact AI.
Did you ever, how about photographs? Did you ever observe Mr. Epstein or anybody around him take pictures of anybody in compromising positions with women or with anybody?
No.
Did you ever hear, when you were present for conversations that Mr. Epstein was having or others were having, anybody accuse him of blackmailing them or of trying to extort them because of something Mr. Epstein knew?
No.
There have been, and you in the discovery you got in the New York case, okay?
Yes.
And in the civil cases that you've been part of associated with Mr. Epstein, have you ever been given or ever been told that video exists like what we're talking about, or photos were taken that...
Biden has an identical twin as well on this, Travis. I thought they were great, so I left them in there.
We're compromising.
So in both of those, I received no pictures or anything from the civil case.
Mm-hmm.
But in the criminal case, I received videos of Epstein talking to women and stuff like that. I did get those. I also saw binders, photographs of women, indeterminate. I never saw any. Well, I don't know how old some of these women were. There were definitely some of the victims from.
Now, was it Mitt Romney during the election that spoke about binders of women, or was that 2016 Trump? I don't recall, but it's an odd connection point there. I wonder if Republicans or Democrats will try to use that to their advantage.
The photographs of them in
those photographs, were the victims that were photographed, were there any of the people you've talked about, like were there men with the victims, or were they just photographs of the victims?
There was no men with these pictures. There was no client of his with those pictures. They would be standalone, for want of a better word, like modeling shots. If you were
pictures that Epstein had with the girls, but not Epstein with the clients and the girls.
Correct.
Did you, I understand you said you got those in the discovery. Did you know those pictures like that existed? So right now I'm talking about photographs of victims or photographs of women that Mr. Epstein had on his computer or wherever he had them. Did you know that those photos existed before you got them in discovery?
Some of them, absolutely, because they were in his house. Some of these pictures were on his, credenza or whatever.
Okay.
Some pictures I'd simply never seen before. I mean, I'd never seen some of them. Some of them I had, some of them I hadn't. I mean,
did you? So you're right, and I accept that having video or photographs of somebody famous or powerful in a compromising position would be good blackmail. But so separate, putting aside what you've said about the fact that you don't know of any existence of those, did you observe over the years the folks we're talking about, or others, which we can talk about, getting massages from young women?
So I think it's really helpful to understand a few things that has been missed in this whole Michigas.
That's a technical term.
I'll look it up later. Go ahead.
I've thought about this obviously a lot, and I've given it some. So this is the benefit of what I saw and some benefit of what I now think. So just for clarity's sake, I just want to say for the record that I do believe that Epstein did a lot of, not all, but some of what he's accused of. And I'm not here to defend him in any respect whatsoever. I don't want to. And I don't think he requires, nor deserves, any type of protection or, for me, in any way to sugarcoat what he did or didn't do. So there's that. However...
Funny, she said all that as a qualifier for something coming up here. And it looks like your dad says all those fake photos of Dems just make y'all look bad. Wait, did you comment that earlier? It sounds like a repeat.
The man I met and the man he became, I believe that there is a progression. And I don't think that the man I met is the man that he became. I believe he became that man over a period of time. Now, we can discuss anything you want, and I'll tell you everything I know. But I think somebody who has an interest, however you define that, in underage people is obviously someone who is unwell. But I don't think that you wake up one day and you start doing what he's accused of. I think this is something that you develop or you progress to. I think. Because
Glenn, before you get into all that, let's answer the top line question and then get into it.
Okay, the top line question is...
Did you ever see any of these people with underage
No.
women?
So the reason I'm saying that is not to avoid that question, but it's because by the time we were talking in the 90s, I don't think he was there. That description, I think that what you're talking about is a later version.
Yeah, and
is that?
No, I understand that, and I do want to talk. I'm not.
So it's just I think you need to separate the periods of time.
All right, guys, we're about an hour 30 into day one, which I believe.
Sure.
Because this one of the things that was definitely.
Yeah, it's about just under 4 hours total. So what I'm going to do, I've marked the time that it's been stopped. I may either schedule a stream to automatically send that out there so that we have a copy out there online for folks to reference. I'm also going to look at the Department of Justice website to bring down transcripts and, yes, of course, have AI scan through them and look for highlights or interesting moments or questions that came up, look for different things. If you got anything that you think would be interesting to look for, keywords or anything, look at my link in my bio. It goes to my link space. It's link.space/political cow. And I got a contact form on there too, if you guys want to reach out. The business inquiries go to my agent, and I don't see those necessarily, so don't send in it there. Fill out the form if you want to get in touch. But guys, I appreciate it. Very much appreciated. I think that this is just the tip of the iceberg. And when I do locate it on the DOJ site, I'm going to download a copy of it because sometimes these things have a tendency to like disappear on us. I'm going to download a copy, but I'll also provide some links on my website, politicalcow.com, to take a look. But yeah, inconsistencies are abounding. Oh, and there goes Bill Clinton with Ghislaine. All right, guys. Thank you so much for spending a little bit of time with me, and let's close it out for the stream.
The words of the liar's mouth, causing their followers doubt. One voice shouts above the crowd, the message of political cow. Conspiracies abound inside their twisted sound. One voice shouts above the crowd, the message of political cow. Political cow. Their lies are on the ground. Fake news is breaking down at the sound of political cow. Followers of a false belief, subject to endless grief. She helps to bring them relief. The influence of political cow. All your community loves you. We know that your heart is true. We would be lost without you. The influence of political cow.